They made this move like I was going to dash across the street, and then I just gave up. But it looked cool. Hello everybody, how are you? Thursday. I don't even know if I have the right date on this thing, but I'll change it if it's... Is it the 13th? Let me see. Yeah, 13th? Yeah. Really nice day here in Columbus, Ohio. It was raining yesterday and the day before. It's the 8 seasons, the 8 or 9, 10 seasons of Ohio. You've got pre-spring, fake spring, spring, rainy spring, post-spring, you know. There's like 15 different, look at this. There's like 15 different springs. I'm not exactly sure which one we're in now, but I call it the post-rainy spring. I gained so much weight over COVID on purpose, but now I gotta, or actually vice versa. I didn't go to the gym on purpose. That's the best way to put it. But now the bill has come due. Gotta get out there. Move that body. I wonder if more people got in shape because they had the time over COVID, or just gave up like me. Are you a quitter? Are you a quitter? Yes. Yes. Alright guys, I'm almost finished with my first adaptation. And then I'm going to start on my second one. Hopefully I'll have the second one done by the end of the summer. So, when I say adaptation, it's basically a straight rip. In fact, that's the name of it, straight rip. No, it's I adapted Oscar Wilde's. Whenever I say adapted, put that in quotes, because it's basically a rewording. But I adapted Oscar Wilde's The Canterville Ghost, or am adapting it. It's almost done. It's almost done. Couple more weeks probably. Canterville Ghost. I believe it was written in 1897. But I think he died in like 1899. So I think it was published after his death. I could be wrong about that. But I think it was published in 1905. I'll double check that. That's a good question. We'd go down there, but the noise is so loud from the freeway. It's a story of a ghost. First of all, let me just state straight out a couple things. One, there's no way I can improve on Oscar Wilde. So that's not what I'm trying to do. But I'll explain it. And then two, the guy's incredibly funny. He's just funny. He's just, he's wry. I guess wry is a good word, but it's just so funny. And it's not really meant to be. I mean, it is. It's supposed to be. But it's not like modern, jokey joke. And maybe that's one reason, or one side benefit of adapting it. But basically, I just thought it would be a good workout, honestly, is just to take it paragraph by paragraph and then update it and rework it. And in so doing, it pushes you to, well, first of all, you don't have to worry about plot. You don't have to worry about character, or at least the list of characters. Because I'm not a fiction guy. I don't write fiction. I've never, some people would say my jokes are fiction because the laughs aren't aren't real. I don't even know what that means. I don't think that even makes any sense. So I don't know. Honestly, I don't even remember why I started on this particular story. I think because it was a short story, so I knew I could get through it without. I was afraid to get into something and get bogged down and quit. So let me tell you what this Canterville, the original, is about, and then what I've done with it. I really am out of shape. It's set in England, and the American minister, which I translate as the ambassador to England. So let's say the American ambassador to England, the new American ambassador to England. Maybe they were called minister then, I don't know. He's looking for a place to live in England, and he's meeting with Lord Canterville, Lord Canterville, and they're negotiating, they're discussing renting the Canterville mansion. It's been in the family's ownership for hundreds of years. And Lord Canterville says, listen, I'll rent it to you, but just so you know, it's haunted. And to give you a little context, the book is partially a criticism or satire of American brashness and probably lack of class compared to British class and manners, but also probably lack of innovation. They're just so set in their ways, whereas Americans are more progressive and aggressive and innovative, more or less. So the American ambassador says, listen, I know the place, he says that might be, and that's not a problem. If the place is haunted, which I don't think it is, it's not a problem. He said, first of all, our American, basically, I'll change the language a little bit so it's not quite as obscure. He says, first of all, our American entrepreneurs would have, if that were the case, if there was a real ghost, they would have put him on stage. They would have taken the ghost. Americans would have taken the ghost on tour. These two dogs here. You know, they would have made money off of the Ghost. You know, if it was that amazing and true, Americans would have already exploited that and made him famous. and this is said with complete confidence. So this is the American ambassador. He's talking with complete confidence. So so this is the American. Now Oscar Wilde, as you know, is British, so he's commenting on Americans and British. This is in the first page of the book that they're talking about renting this mansion and probably estate, and he's saying it's haunted, and the American guy's saying, you know, he just immediately discounts it and says, you know, our young American impresarios, he says, which would be, you know, like the showbiz types, would have put him on stage and taken him around the world and made lots of money off this supposed ghost. But let's say he basically says, but if the ghost is true, it's no big deal. We're not afraid of a ghost. And then Lord Canterville just listens to all this. Lets him go on. There's a little pause there, and he goes, "I'm afraid the ghost is real." See, I mean, it's not like a joke, but I lost it when now, first of all, well, okay, so I just lost it when I read that line, because it's a beautiful characterization, and this is the first page. They haven't even set up the characters, but you know, he's Lord Canterville, right? I mean, you probably have in your mind a picture of a British landed, you know, British upper class British guy, right? You know, a lord, especially in, you know, the late 1800s. He says, "I'm afraid the ghost is real." Like he doesn't try to debate the American. He just lets him talk, going on about all this stuff about, well, if he's real, we would have taken it, you know, we would have made him famous already, and so it's impossible. Like, and this is written in 1897, you know, but it could be so current, like it could be just written yesterday, and I don't know. And to be honest with you, I don't think I'd ever really read any Oscar Wilde, although of course everybody knows him. But when I read that, I just started crying, laughing, and the way he says it, he doesn't say, "Yeah, you're wrong. Why would you say it?" He just restates his position, but so politely. Right, that you never feel the wound. I'm afraid the ghost is real. Like he doesn't. He says, "But do what you want. But I just don't want you to say I didn't tell you." So this story's been around forever, so, but I won't ruin ruin it in case you want to read it. But I'll give you one more I guess would be a semi-spoiler, but it's no big spoiler. And then I'll tell you how I adapted it, or am adapting it. Have you ever taken your dog to get a puppuccino at Starbucks? Because I see it online all the time. People taking their dog to get a puppuccino, and it's pretty funny the way the dogs. It's like a little cup of some treat. So yeah, last night I was like, what is it? What is a puppuccino? Like, what's in it? Like, these dogs love it so much. This is maybe the biggest disappointment of my week so far. It's whipped cream in a cup. By the way, the puppuccino is free if the human buys something. If you don't buy anything, they might charge you for the cup of whipped cream. My guess is they probably wouldn't. So, okay, one more. Of course, just like Lord Canterville said, the mansion is haunted. The Canterville mansion. And you know, and I've seen movie adaptations of the story. It just doesn't do justice to the book, I don't think. You really have to read the original Oscar Wilde, I think, to get the real flavor of it. But anyway, the ghost, one of his first attempts. He's been a ghost for 300 years, and I won't give you the whole backstory, it'll take too long, but basically he makes his first attempt. So the family moves in, these Americans move in. The ghost makes his first attempt to scare the ambassador. And so he's outside the room of the ambassador himself. The family have different rooms, of course. He's outside the ambassador's room. And he's got his chains. So he's, you know, if you can picture a ghost with these creaky old chain, and he's going, oh, clank, clank, clank. And the ambassador wakes up and he comes out and he goes, basically, I'm just paraphrasing, but he goes, what the hell's going on? He goes, sir, says to the ghost, sir. Again, this is not the dialogue. I'm just giving you the gist of it. Hey man, your chains, they're squeaking like hell. You waking me up. And he goes, look, take this. And he gives him some, like, basically some, you know, oil. He goes, look, this will take care of the squeaky chains. Just put this on the chains, you know, they'll be quiet, and there you go. Now I get where some people will be like, well, that's not that funny, but I don't know. You have to read the original Oscar Wilde. It's really, really funny, and it just, you know, again, he's commenting on American sort of directness and brashness and you know, materialism and, you know, commerciality. Is that a word? Commerciality. Capitalism. Blah blah blah. All right, so how am I adapting it? Hey, ghost, hey, what the hell? He's not afraid of the ghost. In fact, he tries to help him. Oh, man. All right, so the adaptation I made. So, okay, so you have the British and you have the Americans. So I thought, what if we moved it? What if we moved the story? So I went to Ohio University in Athens, which has a long history in the Athens area of being haunted. The entire area. There's different, haunts, different spots where it's haunted. So, I said that'd be funny to put the story in Athens. So instead of an American ambassador, and I've changed all the locations and all that, but instead of an American ambassador going to Britain, going to London, I thought, what if you had let's make it a new university president. Let's make it a new university president coming in, and let's see, how did I do it? I think he's on the board of trustees. Is the character of Lord Canterville. I think it's on the board of trustees. I forget how I set that up. And so the new university president is coming in and is talking about moving into the president's house. But the board of trustees, who's managing the transition to a new president, says, hey, you can move. We'd love you to move into the president's house, but it's haunted. Just so you know. We'll make it whatever accommodations you want in town, but and you're welcome to stay here, but you should know that it's haunted. And so the university that in other words, the new president in Athens, the new president of the university, came from Miami University in Oxford. And so the context of that is that Ohio University is known as a more liberal, kind of a party school, but also probably overall more liberal than Miami University in Oxford, which is more traditional, more conservative. And so that's the contrast. So basically the new president coming from Miami is Miami University represents us, in a sense, the Americans, right, of the original story, and then the Ohio University would be the British, more or less. See what I'm saying there? See what I'm saying there? So he tells them, same story. I don't change the story. In fact, it's a paragraph by paragraph rip. I mean, I change all the characters, but the story's exactly the same. Other than I just change the setting. That's why it will be very clear when I get done. I'm gonna make sure. I go, look, this is a straight adaptation. I don't want anybody to think I'm pretending to be Oscar Wilde's, writing an Oscar Wilde, because it's exactly the same. So I have to tell you, the reason I started adaptations like this was because it really does. Well, like I said, I'm new to fiction, so I kind of wanted to get the flow. I thought it would be a good way to get the flow of fiction, like just to, you know what I mean? You're sort of learning as you go on how it's structured, as well as, learning outside of just doing. But I learned a lot by just doing. So Canterville Ghost is in the public domain. You can adapt it, anybody can adapt it. And I have to tell you, but I update it with current references and stuff. So Oscar Wilde uses a lot of references to Britain in the 1890s. So I update it to current time. you know, the problem is, or the challenge, I guess, he's such a good writer. Like there's no fat on the bone. Like like his descriptions and the paragraphs and the sentence structure it's hard to, it's so good. You're like, well, why would you want to mess with this paragraph? This is like the perfect paragraph. It's just so well written. And the guy, the talent, the talent is just like streaming off the page. It's like a heat, like energy field coming off the computer screen or the page. It's so good. And I think when you kind of get into the weeds with it, you're like, because you're getting down into the, you know, not only just the sentences, but the, you know, between the commas and the phrases, and it's surprisingly funny. I thought it would be sort of more erudite and a little bit standoffish. I have no clue. I didn't know anything about it. I don't think I probably read one Oscar Wilde story in my life. You know, back whenever. So it's been a lot of fun. And it's also kind of like going to the gym, because a lot of times you might not, well, actually I've never had a problem with writer's block. But in terms of starting your writing session, it's an easy way to warm up, because all I'm doing is going paragraph by paragraph and rewriting that paragraph in my words and with the updated context of which I just gave you about these universities. So you don't have to worry, you're not thinking about the characters, because that's already set. You're not thinking about the setting, because that's relatively, so once you now later I might go through and make it less apparent, you know, less the same. I don't know if I made any sense there. Like West Side Story, right, is an adaptation of Romeo and Juliet, but it's not a paragraph by paragraph rip like I'm doing. you know, it's got elements. Although if you look at Sons of Anarchy, it's pretty close to the original myths. It's pretty close. I mean, not that it shouldn't be. I'm just saying. In this case, you know, I'm just learning. I'm just, you know, trusting the process, and I'm surprised how much I like it. So that's the other thing too, is it's fun to do. Like, you look forward to doing it, and I can do it for hours. You know, whereas I've had writing projects that were, you know, more laborious, and you just, every writer, every artist has been there, or anybody working on anything. If you're just not into it, it's, you know, it's, you start looking at the clock, you go get another cup of coffee. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, just that kind of talent that you see when you read an Oscar Wilde story. And who knows how many times he revised it? I have no clue. But what's left to me, it kind of sparkles. Like it's interesting in those days, because I find myself using more sentences, but he'll put in a sentence that has, you know, 7 commas. I'm like, man, I can't go that long. I'm gonna break this up. And of course, the paragraphs themselves are much more dense. I think than modern writing. You know, in other words, the paragraphs are longer, and the sentences are longer. I don't even know how I selected The Canterville Ghost. I think I was just looking for a short story. I'd have to go back. I kind of keep a daily journal. I'll look back and see. But like I say, it was the very first page that I was laughing. I had never read it before. I had never seen anything about it, heard anything about it. And the very first page, when the guy goes, you can just picture this British guy, right? Proper, prim and proper. He's not getting upset. He's not getting excited. But he's not changing his mind. I'm afraid the ghost is real. Like, listen, American, I don't care what you say. And the other thing too is the American ambassador, like right away, like immediately, goes into this spiel about, well, if he was real, the Americans would have made money off of him already. So he's not real. I mean, I'm not doing it justice, but you know, you get the idea. So right away, you're getting the characterization, right? Oh man, I wonder if Oscar Wilde, if he lived today, we'd probably have better movies, I think. Guy got such a raw deal too. He, who was it? Some mucky muck in London. Oh yeah. That's so. This will be a loose interpretation because I can't exactly remember. But Oscar Wilde, I think he was having an affair with the son of one of the prominent people in London, like a lawmaker, the mayor, or something like that. The mayor. And the father didn't, you know, this was not acceptable in those days. And the father was tried to have, how did this work? Well, long story short, they arrested Oscar Wilde for whatever they called it back then. Whatever illegality that was. Geez, I can't remember, but so they put him in jail. He got arrested, and in his defense, Oscar Wilde said, "This is all set up. This is bogus," and they produced the prosecution produced letters that Oscar Wilde had written to this guy, his lover, basically. See, this is what happens when you're a writer. You're always writing things down. Now, probably big chunks of that story I got wrong, but that's basically it. That he was having an affair with this young man. The father didn't like it. It was immoral. It was illegal. It was probably embarrassing for him in those days. Not acceptable. and had Oscar Wilde arrested and ultimately jailed. And Oscar Wilde died in jail. I think he was probably around 50. So he didn't, how many, hey, I'm no expert. I don't know any really about other stuff he wrote. Some of which were, novels that, although he only wrote one novel, I think, are much more famous than The Canterville Ghost. But, so I don't know that they're all as whimsical and funny as I find The Canterville Ghost. But how many works, how many great, works did we lose out on because he got sick in prison and died? And in fact, he knew he was dying. He's attributed, I'm not 100% sure a lot of these are actually his quips, but he's attributed with a lot of quips and comebacks and witticism. You might have heard the saying, England and America I'm going to butcher this up. Well, what's the saying? Are separated by the only thing is the common is their language. I messed it up, but oh, that was terrible. So how many years would he have lived? And works that we could have, but all because of bigotry and that old bigotry and like it was sad. What a beautiful day out here, bro. So the next thing I might work on, I'm not 100% sure yet, but there's a couple things actually. One short story from P.J. Wodehouse, possibly, and then I just think it's too good to pass up. The Great Gatsby went into public domain last year. It's such a great story. I think I might move it to Los Angeles and do an updated Great Gatsby set in L.A. I think that would be, and talk about a great writer. I mean, F. Scott Fitzgerald died thinking that novel sucked. Now it's a lot of critics, don't say it's the best. Like it's not. Some literary experts don't consider it to be that great of a novel. But I think, first of all, I think it is. From what I've read so far, I've only been about 25% through, and I've seen the movie. I know basically what's going to happen. But when you get into the original text, you can see the talent. And so I would probably disagree with those critics on the writing. But also, certain novels just kind of capture a time and place that make them iconic. And I think that's what you have with The Great Gatsby. But his commentary on wealth and class and girls. This one girl that he liked in real life, the Edith Cummings, the real person that he based one of the characters on, was a golfer. Pretty good too. And in those days, this is the early 20s, I think, when she played. They didn't really. It was mostly amateur tournaments. Like she entered the British Amateur. I think she won the British Amateur for women. She was good. Her father was a. You know, she grew up in society in Chicago. And that's the. And what do they call, like a debutante in those days? And so she was considered a, you know, prized, highly valuable potential partner in life. And well, that sounded fancy. And this is kind of funny too. Just thinking of it as in today's light. So she starts dating a guy from Boston. She's from Chicago. She starts dating a guy from Boston, and she's from society in Chicago. So they're, you know, they've got all the credentials. They've got money. They've got class. They've got education. Whatever it is. And to be in the upper crust, you know. And she starts dating a guy from Boston. Well, you know, again, they're in their early 20s and probably you still had to get approval from your parents. I don't know, but the parents of this guy from Boston said, no. She's from Chicago. Like it was the Wild West. Like the East Coast looked down on Chicago in those days. And maybe they still do, I don't know. But come on. She's from one of the most prominent families in Chicago. Like it was this, you know, saloon town. You know, like some podunk. Like everybody walks around with 6-shooters and stuff like that. Crazy. And so they put the nix on that. So then she married a guy that was, again, another rich guy. And they love to go hunting together. They're, you know, they're real outdoors people. Golf, everything outside. You know, and hunting and hiking and kayak, you know, canoeing and all that stuff, camping. So they're going down this river in Alberta, in Canada, and they go by this stretch of land. They're like, this is the most, and if you've been to Alberta, I mean, it's stunning. They go in the, there's up in the Rockies, I think, and they're hunting and camping and canoeing. They go around this bend, and they're just this stunning piece of property. So they go, we're going to buy it. So they bought this virgin forest or whatever and built a house. It became one of their hunting lodge and their getaway. And I don't think they ever had, oh, she had cancer of the uterus, I think. She couldn't have kids. They took out her uterus. She couldn't have kids, but she said she never worried about it. She's not one to linger on disappointment, and she just had this, you know, full life. Well, it helps to be rich, right? To be able to buy virgin tracts of land in the Canadian Rockies. Yeah, she lived to be like 80 something. She just seemed like a real, you know, great person. Although she said in her later years, she's like, You know, it used to be so much better. The water didn't taste like chlorine. And she said, these